Sorry, I've been there as long as I can remember. Hey, it's me, DaCapybara. I was recommended to play Omori by someone in my Twitch chat over a year ago, and after a dumpster fire of a stream trying to get it to work through Game Pass, one of my friends graciously gifted it to me. And so now that I have finally played it, I'm here to tell you that Omori is an incredible game with some very serious flaws. And I never realized that I could actually love and hate a piece of media so much as I do Omori, but we're here. And since I can't stop thinking about it, let's just go ahead and give it a review. It is an RPG made in RPG Maker by Omocat, and you follow the character of Omori / Sunny and his friend group as they go about processing trauma in this lovely bubbly world of Headspace, and then also try and reconnect as friends in the real world. Like every good RPG Maker game, it has turn-based combat system. And what makes this turn-based combat system unique is that you have different abilities that alter yours and other characters' emotions. And if you are a specific emotion, like say I am happy, then I do extra damage to angry people. And angry does more damage to sad, and sad does more damage to happy. Controlling your friend's emotions and then also controlling the enemy's emotion and coming up with a strategy to beat it is so much fun. It's a very engaging combat system. The game is also absolutely horrifying. There are themes and jump scares and dark, creepy moments that make your just skin crawl. There were many times at night when I was trying to go to sleep and I could not stop thinking of something, and you know what something is if you've played the game. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it took me forever to fall asleep, so there's that, you know? But that's what Omori is. I think that it's a good idea to split it up into pros and cons, because I do love and hate it. So let's just jump in. When it comes to the art style, it's obvious that Omocat was an artist first, because holy frick, it is so good. The JPEGs that come into the frame sometimes give it a really creepy feel. The sprites and pixel art are so vibrant and unique. They tug on that nostalgia of Ness and Earthbound and things like that. And so the art style is absolutely incredible. The drawings, they're all like hand drawn. It's so pretty. The art is awesome. When it comes to the combat is super fun. I love the turn-based combat system, specifically with emotions, because there's so many different strategies that you can use in order to build these characters, to beat these specific bosses. You have a bunch of items, a bunch of power-ups. The combat is probably one of my favorite things about the whole game. Now let's jump into the story. It is gripping. It just grabs you by the heart and does not let go. Partly because I think, personally, when it comes to writing a good story, every character has to be incredible. I love it when the villains are super duper fleshed out. And spoiler alert, the villain is very fleshed out. You care so much about every single one of these characters, and sometimes you get angry at some of these characters too. But it just is twists and turns, and the whole time you're trying to figure out basically what happened. What happened to this friend group that caused all of this pain, and why is it so different than Headspace, and how does it all connect? The story grabs you and you want to figure it out. Another pro is that I feel as though the portrayal of grief and trauma in this game are stellar. It can be hard to portray really tough topics in a way that doesn't completely negate them or make them feel minimized. But this game does it very well. When the bad stuff happens, it almost feels like it's happening to you. The game sucks you in so good that you really are rooting for these characters to get over or deal with their trauma. And so yeah, they portrayed it excellently. Now let's go over to the cons. So I talked about the art style earlier. Well, sometimes this game is really hard to look at. There are points towards the end of the game where it literally hurt my eyes because it was just so jarring in a way that's just like, ouch. And I understand why they went that direction in those specific scenes, but it is hard to ignore that there were parts of the game that I wanted to close my eyes. And it wasn't because I was scared, it was because what was on screen was literally hurting them. The pacing was very bothersome in the middle of the game. In that second act, during the good run, I only got the good ending. I did not want to play the bad ending, the Hikikomori route. I can't say much about the pacing of those other endings, however, with the good ending. In the middle of the game, the fights are really, really fun in the headspace. I love, as I said, I love the combat system, but it's really boring in the real life space, like in Faraway Town. The story is really awesome in Faraway Town, but the fights are super, super boring. Here's a little spoiler alert, friends. You can lose every fight in real life and nothing bad happens. That's what I've heard. And I lost a lot of fights. The fights aren't nearly as dynamic. They're more of a thing to kind of drag the story. And so I feel like in the second act, there's not enough story in the headspace, but there's not enough combat that is actually engaging in real life, and it bogs itself down because of that. In the real life sections in Faraway Town, kind of the second act of the story, I feel as though they are kind of just meant to help add to the story, but they could have been a visual novel at that point instead of a game, because the gameplay didn't matter, and that feels bad. It feels bad. Now, I know that there was some controversy because it took forever to come out. It came out in 2020, but they announced it in like 2014. And so, I know it was a Kickstarter, it was a very small studio, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I think that because they were getting so much pressure for these people to actually release the game, they felt like it had to be really, really big. And so, I almost feel as though the second act is stretched out on purpose when it could be a lot faster. And that's just my own personal opinion. More game does not necessarily mean better game. And on that note, it's really long. It's a pretty long experience. So another thing is, you're getting these skills throughout the game, but there's no real good progression because a lot of the best moves you have like almost right off the bat. And so there's not a whole lot of incentive to learn these new moves, and there's no real reason to because of the scaling of the game. You can beat the end boss with the move that you got, you know, as soon as you booted it up. And so I wish that it would encourage more experimentation between moves. Now, I know that there's some like skill sets and moves that are absolutely busted when you put them together, and I love that, but you can't just brute force your way through every single fight. Now, this one is a little bit tricky for me. This nitpick is a little bit weird, but you can name Sunny, the main character, whatever you want. And I feel as though it is a trap to name him anything but Sunny, because the reason that you would name a character in a video game yourself is because it helps put you in that character's shoes. Like, that character is you in the game. That's why you can name Link in every single Legend of Zelda game whatever you want. You don't have to, he doesn't have to be Link. He can be Cappy. He's Cappy a lot of the time. What that does is it helps put you in that character's shoes, and it gives you a bit more agency. The problem is, though, is that Sunny is already a full-fledged character. Although he doesn't say anything throughout the entire game, he doesn't feel as though he is me, because he has already made choices that we learn about that aren't necessarily choices that I would make. And I feel as though it takes agency away from the player. Throughout all of its flaws, though, the story is immaculate, and it is worth experiencing. And I was thinking about it long after it was over. I honestly don't feel like I can give this game a number score, and it's because I don't feel comfortable recommending it to anyone. Because if you struggle with mental health, if you have hangups with guilt, with depression, with harmful thoughts, then I would say to stay away from this game, because how good it sucks you in, it can amplify those feelings in yourself. When I finish playing the game sometimes, because I would play it in like 3 hour stints, because I streamed the game. I'm a streamer. I streamed the game. After I would get done playing it, I would feel bad. And sometimes I would feel bad for the next day. It affected my mental a bit. Now, I knew it was going to do that. I was strong. I was very talkative to my friends and open about how I felt about the game, and I wanted to be an open book because it helps put me in the right perspective. However, I can't recommend it to everybody. But if you think you have the ability to play it, then I would. Because between all the depression, there's a great story about friendship, and it's worth experiencing. For more of what I think about what Omori says about friendship, make sure you click that video right there. See you in the next one. Bye.